All right, let's talk about the CISSP exam, the big one in cybersecurity. People say it's tough, and yes, they're absolutely right. But here's the thing, with the right strategy, you can pass it. I did it, and today I'm going to be sharing all my tips, my tricks, my study plan, my resources, my exam day strategy, and even the mistakes I made so that you don't have to make them. So stick around. When you take the CISSP exam and you pass, you get this very nice looking package from ISC2. I don't know if you can see that. It contains your certificate. It also contains this very lovely little lapel pin that you can actually, I don't know if you can see this pin here. There's a little pin that says the CISSP. You get that pin that you can actually use in your lapel when you're doing stuff. So it's great. And that's one of the benefits of the CISSP exam. It's globally recognized. It's well known, and if you have that, you're considered to be a technical expert in the field. Before we jump into the study hacks, let's first break down the CISSP exam itself. So it's a CAT-based, computerized adaptive testing exam with about 100 to 150 questions, thereabouts. It covers about 8 domains that cover things like security, risk, identity, networking, software, and a lot more. But it's not only about memorization, it's also applying that knowledge as a security manager. And that last part is what trips most people up. Imagine, for example, you found yourself wondering, should you go for the CISSP or should you not? Or maybe you've been looking through various job descriptions and suddenly you keep on looking at it over and over again. CISSP preferred, CISSP required. At first glance, it might seem like it's just another fancy acronym to add to your resume, have an alphabet soup behind your name. The truth is, without the CISSP, you might actually be losing out on opportunities in cybersecurity. So, let's talk a bit more about why the organizations say CISSP preferred. Most organizations aren't just going to let anyone near their most sensitive systems. They need proof that you actually know how to protect those systems, and that's where the CISSP comes in. Because it's not just a certificate that shows you understand security, but it actually shows that you actually know how to manage security. You've got an insider's knowledge of everything, and that no matter what, you are able to do that. But let's be real. Getting the CISSP is the part that keeps people up at night. It's quite expensive as an exam, and failure is a very real possibility. You just imagine you want to pour all that time and money and effort into it, and then you don't do well. So you want to make sure that when you do take the exam, you put all the right time, the right effort in so that your money doesn't go to waste. And speaking about the exam, the CISSP exam, and the actual passing rates, let's talk about it. ISC2, which is the organization behind the CISSP, does not actually share official pass rates. So we don't have official exact numbers. But people have speculated. There have been papers that have written things like there's only a 20% pass rate. There's some other papers that say it's close to 50 to 60%. Whatever it is, the truth is it's a challenging exam and not everyone gets to pass on the first try. Even if you take the best estimates of 50 to 60%, it is still a challenging exam. 6 out of 10 pass. That's not very good. And that's just because it's not designed to be the ultimate knowledge test. It's not just about what you know, but it's also about how do you think. You're going to face 150 adaptive questions over 4 hours, covering 8 different domains. And what's the kicker? Many questions have multiple technically correct answers, but only one is the best answer. So you're not just picking the right or wrong, but you're showing that I can actually think like a senior security professional and make a decision of what is best for the company. So can you pass the exam on the first try? Yes. But should you take it seriously when you're planning for it? Absolutely. And the good news is people who know what they are up against and who prepare accordingly, they do pass. I passed on my first try. And in this video, I'll share exactly how I did it, what I did, my mistakes, and what actually worked for me. So if you're ready to crack the CISSP, let's get into it. First, my study plan and my resources. What were the resources I used to study and why did it work for me? With the CISSP, you cannot use only one resource. You have to use a variety of resources. And that's not just me, that's almost everyone I've spoken to who has taken the CISSP exam agrees. You can't pass with just one resource. You need a variety of resources. So what are the resources that I use? Starting with what books and study guides that I use. My very first study guide without saying, is the official CISSP study guide. I will just share my screen here. We'll just take a quick look at that because I do have that open. We can actually take a look at the official CISSP website from ISC2. And on the official ISC2 website, you can actually take a look at the resources that are available there. So there's some resources about the CISSP exam success. So there's training you can actually get. In fact, they actually outline the self-study tools. You can actually get an exam outline. And if you look at the exam outline, it does list the various domains for the CISSP. So security and risk management, asset security, architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, assessment and testing, operations and software development security. So that's quite extensive. Also, what other things can you do? The ISC2 provides official flashcards, which you can actually use to sort of memorize things. What can you do? And that opens those flashcards and you can look at them. You can get that. Of course, you have to be registered to get those flashcards. Just have a practice quiz, which you can take. And there's a study app as well. And of course, there is a textbook, there's quite a few textbooks you can take. So there's the official CBK, which you can buy off of Amazon. You can buy that off of Wiley as well. There's also the official study guide, which you can buy. And then there's also practice tests also available on Amazon or Wiley or, wherever you get your books. So you can actually get those for you too. Hey, CyberSec Migrant listeners. If you're enjoying the show, help us spread the word. Share the CyberSec Migrant podcast with your friends, your colleagues, and your network. It's the best way to help others discover our awesome content and to join the conversation. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and any other place where you get your podcast, so you never miss an episode. And do hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Your support helps us keep bringing you more valuable content, insights, and stories, and all these tips from the world of cybersecurity. And thank you for tuning in. And now, let's get back to today's episode. Prepare for the exam. Another book that I used that I found quite useful was Luke Ahmed's Think Like a Manager book. That book was one of the ones that was able to actually help me to put myself in the right frame of mind to actually prepare for the exam. So you can get a book off of Amazon. And like I said earlier, it's not just about what you know, but how can you apply that knowledge to provide the best solution for the enterprise. This book consists of about 25 different questions, and it's not just the answers to the questions, but it takes the question and talks through the thought process behind how, as a security manager, you would think about what would be the best course of action. So that helps you get into the mind phrase of what should you do for getting the right solution to the exam. Now, that's enough of books. Let's talk about video courses, because some of us actually learn very well, I included, from taking video courses. So what are the video courses that are available to you? One of the video courses you can take, I didn't take this one, but I've had good reviews about it, is Kelly Hanahan's course on Cybrary. It's a CISSP course that you can take that covers all of the information that are needed for the CISSP exam. She has a particular phrase: understand, don't memorize. So this course aims to help you understand the entire thing about the CISSP course. It's 32 hours long. It's a bit of an advanced course, but even when you take this course, you get 16 CPEs towards that. There's a list of the contents there. So the mindset, which is where she talked about, understand and don't memorize. And then there's a whole bunch of things you can actually go through there. And she covers all of those topics in short, easy to understand, easy to learn videos. So that's one resource you can actually use if you're big on video courses. Another video course which you can actually take is Mike Chappell's LinkedIn Learning course, which is a course that has about 21 hours plus of content. It's about 21 hours plus of content on LinkedIn Learning. So Mike Chappell has actually developed this very impressive course that actually has a whole lot of material around how do you develop or prepare for the CISSP exam. So there's a bunch of chapters. I cover each of those domains, and you can actually go through each of those: compliance and ethics, security policy, business continuity. So he talks about that. It's a very extensive course. It's about, like I said, it is about 21 hours of content, but it does show you everything. It gives you most of the material you need to cover for the CISSP exam. So if you have access to LinkedIn Learning, which, by the way, if you have a library close to you, you can actually get free access to LinkedIn Learning through your local libraries. So go in and check. You can actually take the Mike Chappell CISSP course on LinkedIn Learning. Another great video course, which I particularly used because I found it very useful, was Pete Zerger's Inside Cloud and Security. So on YouTube, Pete Zerger, he's a Microsoft MVP, and he has a YouTube channel called Inside Cloud and Security. And all it's about is certification training and tutorials. And he does have a playlist there that is for the CISSP. And it's quite a bit of an intensive playlist as well. Where's that playlist here? He has a CISSP exam cram 2024, which is a playlist of about 15 different videos. You can watch the entire video, the entire playlist cram in 8 hours, and it covers all the 8 domains. But they also have a few key topics and strategies video as well. So I think this is a good video series that you can use. The way I used this video series was when I had done all my learning and I was in the final week leading up to my exam, I then actually focused on this. And he gives you mnemonics, key tips, tricks, strategies to actually use to set those thoughts in stone so that you can actually go into the exam convinced, confident, and ready to actually be your best self and do the best you can in the exam. So this is another great resource you can actually use if you prefer video courses. The final video course I am going to speak about is this one from Destination Certification. Destination Certification also actually runs an in-person boot camp which you can take, but on YouTube they have this couple of playlists. One is they've got CISSP mind maps, and those mind maps are a fantastic resource. It's about 30 different videos, but it covers a mind map that covers each of the various domains within the CISSP. So you can actually take all of those domains, there's domain 1, domain 2, domain 3, all through to domain 8. So there's 30 videos covering all 8 domains, and those mind maps actually give you really good way of connecting the dots between all of the various concepts within those domains. So if there's anything that's going to help you cement those thoughts and make all those connections of how they all work together, this is a good resource to think about as well. But of course, there's only so much you can do if you watch videos. One of the things you need to do is see how well are you retaining that thing that you have learned, which is where practice questions and mock exams come into play. And of course, there are official practice questions from ISC too, which you can take, practice exams as well. And the official practice questions, they are good, but sometimes, and this is my experience, I found that the questions were a lot easier than the real exam. So if you're taking the official practice exams and you're scoring 95%, 85%, well, 99%, that's all well and good. But just have it at the back of your mind that the actual exam questions are going to be tougher. Now, besides the official exams from ISC2, there are a couple of other people who provide exams. I didn't try all of them, but I am going to talk about 2 different ones which I used, which I found very useful. First is LinkedIn practice exams. So on LinkedIn, if you have access to LinkedIn Learning, which again is a fantastic resource if you have access to it, you can actually get practice exams. Total Seminars, they've got 4 practice exams on LinkedIn Learning by Total Seminars. There's an exam 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which you can actually time yourself and take it like you would be in the actual exam room, or you can, choose a section you want to focus on. But there are 4 exams, and those are really good at helping you think how you should get into the mind frame for the actual exam. So I use this. I found the content useful. If you like that, if you have access to LinkedIn Learning, this would be a great resource. Another option also is the Boson practice exams, which I did not use Boson, but I've heard many people say good things about Boson. Boson is a $99 a year subscription, but it gives you access to the exams, to the exam bank for a year. There's a whole different set of, there's several questions in there. You can time yourself. It's actually also like the actual exam, and you can actually take that, see if it's good. You can use it anywhere on your phone, on a computer. It provides explanations for the questions, and then you can also do a simulation. So that's great as well if you prefer that. The final thing that I actually use this one, is the official ISC2 exam prep app on the LearnZ app. So the LearnZ app, you can download that, available for Android or iOS. It actually combines, they've modified the app recently. There was an update to the app recently where they've combined the CISSP, the CCSP, and the SSCP into one app. So you can actually take that app that actually has practice tests for the CISSP, the CCSP, and the SSCP, and you can actually have over 5,000 questions in the exam. If you get the free version of the app, you don't have access to all 5,000 questions. You only have access to a few, just a small subset of that. But you can actually pay for a subscription that allows you to actually access all of the questions in the question bank. You can take a practice exam, you can take a practice test, and all of that. So the LearnZ app is another app that is fantastic that you can use. You can use that to actually prepare and get some practice in as well. LearnZ app, practice test by Total Seminars on LinkedIn Learning and Boson. I didn't use Boson personally, but I've had a lot of people say good things about Boson. Now, you've done some practice. A good place to get some solution also is to join some discussion groups for that. There's quite a few Discord channels or discussion groups that give you some great perspectives on the exam. So you can actually rub minds with others who are preparing for the exam as well, get different perspectives, and add that to the bank of knowledge that you have as you prepare for the exam. So that's about preparing for the exam. Now let's talk about the exam taking strategy. This is where most people mess up, because the CISSP isn't just testing if you know something. It's testing how do you think as a security leader. So what worked for me? First, think like a risk manager, not a security technician. It's easy to teach anyone how to just plug in a wire, unplug a cable, all of that. But you have to think like a manager. Why am I doing what I am doing? What would be the alternative if I don't do it this way? Is there any other way I can do it? So that's the first thing you have to think about. Think like the manager. Think more high level than low level. The other thing you want to do is review all the answers. I always say, read all the answers. And most times the correct answer is the one that is most managerial, if you could think about it that way. It's just the way the exam works. And again, once you start taking practice exams, you actually see that this is true. Another thing that's important is time management. Yes, you get about just under 90 seconds for each question, assuming you get the full bank of 150 questions, but it can be challenging. So first thing, read the question every single time, probably twice. So read the question the first time to understand what the question is asking, then read the second question the second time so that you can kindly be sure that you understand what the question is asking. But personally, if within 60 seconds I had read the question and I did not get a sense of what it was asking and I wasn't sure, you know what I did? Just play eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and move on. Because you don't want to waste time on a question that's not going to give you marks because you don't know the answer. So gamble, you have a 25% chance of being correct. Play a gamble, choose a question, and move on. It works for me. Thankfully, I did not have to do that so many times, only a few times. But again, don't waste time thinking on the question if you don't know it. Don't sweat it. Now let's talk about mistakes that other people have made. I made some of these mistakes. Some people I've spoken to made some of these mistakes. So here I'm sharing them so that you don't have to make those mistakes. First thing, let's talk about the very first one and the most important one, not preparing well enough. Some people think you can actually just run into the CISSP and, prepare for it in 6 weeks. I have people say you can prepare for it in 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Except you have a lifetime of cybersecurity behind you. I struggle to see how that would be true. So give yourself enough time to prepare for the exam. I spent 6.5 months preparing for the exam when I took the exam. I started preparing for the exam in July and I took it at the end of December. So pretty much 6 months is what I spent preparing for the exam. And that mistake people make, you focus too much on the technical details. Because again, don't just look at, what is the technical detail in here? Ask yourself, what exactly is this question asking me? For a minute, turn off your technician hat and think like a manager. So don't focus on the technical details. I spoke to some people who said they didn't take enough full-length practice exams early enough. which can be a challenge, especially if you're poor with time management. So if you don't do well with time management, I would recommend get on any of those simulators, either Boson or LinkedIn Learning or the LearnZ app, and time yourself and take a full-length practice exam. So you know how well you're doing prior to the exam day. Do you need to improve your time management? Do you need to, focus on certain area? Those full-length practice exams will help you know exactly what you need to improve. Another person I spoke to said they spent a lot of time, in fact, too much time in the final week cramming for the exam. Now, why anyone would cram, I don't know. I didn't cram for the exam. Instead, I think, and this person said he thought he should have done a lot more review and practice. So again, comes back to making sure you have enough time to prepare. If you had enough time to prepare, then you don't need to cram in the final week. So if you've been preparing for a few months, the final couple of weeks, you don't need to cram. You just need to review what you have been learning. And again, remember, practice makes perfect. And you only become better by doing this constantly. So do that. Final thing I'm going to say, and this is particularly for me, make sure you relax. You cannot do well in the CISSP exam if you're too tense. So take a deep breath, relax, because that is so important. You've got to be relaxed to think straight like a manager to do well in the CISSP exam. So that's about the strategies to get into the exam. What do you expect on the day of the exam? The big day. Here is what you should know. First, in this exam, like I said, it's a CAT exam, so which means you cannot go back to previous questions. So the moment you see a question, you answer that question. Once you're done answering the question, it's gone. You don't know the answer. You can skip it, but why would you? You have a 25% chance of getting it right if you guess. So guess and move on, but don't leave any question unanswered. So you might feel like you're failing. Trust me, I didn't know where I stood until I finished. But if you had prepared well, trust your preparation. Take a deep breath before answering the question. Read the questions very well and make sure review all the answers first. Don't have a preconceived notion of this must be the answer. Read the question very well and then look at the answers and then ask yourself, if I was the manager, which would be the best for me in this situation? So that's really, really important for you to do. And then finally, you get the most tension when you see on your screen you have completed your exam or something like that, I think, and then you're asked to go to the front desk to get your result. Because you never really know if you've passed at that point or not. You just know that your exam is done. So that was the point I had the most tension. But of course, when you finally get to the front desk, you pick up results and you see, hey, congratulations, and that is the best feeling ever. So make sure that you're relaxed, do the best you can, prepare well, and trust your preparation. It will be good. And that was how I passed the exam. So if you are planning to take the CISSP or you're currently studying to take the CISSP, stay consistent, trust the process, and remember, it's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset. So remember to do that and trust, like I said, trust your preparation. I can't state this well enough. Prepare very well and trust the preparation, and you will be fine. If on the other hand, you're thinking of taking the CCSP instead and looking for tips and tricks on the CCSP for the cloud, check out this other video here. I'm also going to put the link here as well. You can also check out the CyberSec Migrant podcast down here. This playlist here will give you a lot of information about the CyberSec Migrant podcast. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if you consider subscribing to the channel for more cybersecurity career tips. And if you like this video, hey, consider giving it a like as well. Thank you once again for tuning in to another video on the CyberSec Migrant. And this is Femi signing out. Thank you.